Good morning, everybody. It's Jeff Goldberg for the Sales Pro Network. It is Friday, August 19th. Man, the year is flying by. It's almost
September.
Q4. I can't believe it. If you have not joined us before, I'm a sales coach and trainer. I work with both individuals and organizations, both professional and non-professional salespeople, to help them do one thing and one thing only: increase their sales. And if you've joined us before, you know that every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern, I either do a live training or a live interview with somebody who can add value to the profession of sales. And once again, my friend, today is no exceptions. The Pickup Project, which you're going to hear about today, is a nationwide basketball community for early risers. I'm an early riser, but not a baller. Driven minds and people who value connection as much as competition through early morning runs. And I'm assuming that Mitch beans by basketball runs. We'll ask him that. They unite professionals, entrepreneurs, creatives, and hoopers of all levels, building relationships that go beyond the game. Please welcome the founder of the Pickup Project, Mitch Case. Good morning, Mitch.
Good morning, Jeff. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
I'm excited, man. I'm excited to talk to you. Before we get started, Mitch, could you maybe give us the brief version of your background before you got into the Pickup Project and all that?
Yeah, I'll try to keep it short and sweet. So I went to school for an engineering degree, graduated with a mechanical engineering degree, which is what brought me to Kansas City. Lasted about 9 or 10 months in the life of an engineer, where I realized sitting behind a computer all day wasn't going to work for me. And then I had the opportunity to go to a sales organization that represented the manufacturing company that I worked for doing the engineering side. So immediately jumped into sales, had no experience, had no desire, but just knew I wanted out and to try something different, but had the ability to communicate with people and the technical knowledge about that piece of equipment. So what I thought might be a 2-3 year stint turned into almost 10 years in sales in the commercial HVAC game. I then at that point decided to, in 2020, leave to just kind of sow those entrepreneurial seeds and go after some of the cool things that I thought would be valuable to the community that we're in and broader. As every other entrepreneur, some of those things have worked out. Some of them have not worked out. And so I've just kind of been on this entrepreneurial journey over the last 5 years, which now includes some commercial real estate investing and brokerage or salesperson on that side. The Pickup Project is primarily one of the things that we'll discuss today, but it's allowed me to really grow my network and build a personal brand and, meet some really amazing people over the years. So we've got a lot more on how we got that started, but that's a real brief overview. But when I'm not doing that stuff, I've been married to my beautiful wife for almost 10 years now. We have 3 young kids, 8, 5, and 3, that keep us very busy during the evenings as well. So that's a little bit about me, Jeff.
Gotcha. And I think when we first spoke, I mentioned to you that my daughter is an aerospace engineer. I until she started studying that, I was talking with her about, I would talk to her constantly. It really hadn't dawned on me that engineers are involved in everything. I mean, everything you look at, an engineer designed it. It's just incredible. What made you decide that you were, before you decided not to, but what made you decide to go into mechanical engineering in the first place? What interested you?
Yeah, I mean, I'd always been really good at math and science, and I've kind of mentioned a few different times. Like, I remember in middle school where it was like career day or something along those lines, and we went into the library, and each table had a bunch of different piece of papers on it that says, "Hey, here's what a job description looks like, kind of the scope, and then how much you could potentially make." And I saw math and science, so went to that direction and just saw that engineers can make a very good living off of that. I kind of went that direction. I had 2 uncles that were also engineers. And so that really kind of solidified a little bit of what they were doing that I really enjoyed. And for me, what I've really realized about the engineering aspect, which has kind of led into the entrepreneurial side, is like the building or creating of things. I have a really unique way of seeing point A to point Z to get something from nothing to where it is viable, where it is able to grow, anything along those lines. So the building aspect of it, I mean, that can, as far as aerospace engineering, I mean, that can go down to how can we shave off 1/10 of a pound of this bolt on this aircraft type of thing to get better fuel efficiency. Like, that's a wild, wild route, but that's a lot of what some engineers will do.
Yeah, that's she used to share her, she used to call me all the time from school. She went to an amazing school, the University of Virginia, and obviously a tough school and a tough course to follow. But she used to call me and tell me stuff, and I go, "What are you working on?" Well, I'm working with this team. We're designing a rocket that's going to circle the moon and take pictures of this. And I'm like, in college you're doing that? They were actually part of a competition where NASA was going to award a contract to some team. They didn't win, but just amazing stuff. And you're right. Sometimes it's, an eighth of an inch or a quarter of a pound that makes a difference. Just amazing. And the other thing that blew me away was you mentioned how strong you are in math. That's absolutely the bane of my existence. I'm really strong verbally, but horrible with math. And she used to call me, she'd FaceTime me and show me the math that she was working on. And I'd be like, what planet is that from? I don't even understand.
Why are there letters in parentheses?
Yes, exactly right. Now, I know you've been an entrepreneur and you've had at least one failed business. What's the biggest lesson you learned from a failed business?
From a operational standpoint, I think the biggest thing that I learned from our failed business was really the lack of measuring the activity. That was something that I always felt, and it kind of falls into the sales world too. You feel like you've made 100 phone calls today, but then when you look back at it and you're actually tracking, you're like, how did I only make 9 phone calls today? I felt like I made so many. And I know there's a lot of individuals that may believe like, whenever somebody's tracking something, they're just trying to keep their thumb on me and they're micromanaging. And what I really learned through that business side, it had nothing to do with the actual micromanaging of anything. I mean, I could care less on wanting to manage somebody else's activity, but it did show me the health of the organization. And when that became really, really apparent was when I thought these were happening, I was wondering why our revenue wasn't growing. And then when I sat down and a mentor had mentioned, like, I need you to write down every time you make a phone call, every time you proactively reach out to somebody. And at the end of this week, we're going to take a look at it. And the numbers did not, they surprised me and they did not show that we were going to have any sort of growth. And so from an operations standpoint, I just feel like the measuring side, it's something that I vowed to myself. Anything that I do moving forward, I will never not measure my daily activity, weekly activity to at least see where it's at. Because it's also going to indicate, hey, is there a roadblock? Is there something in the way that maybe the organization can help me with to achieve what I need to achieve to hit our numbers? But it also will be keeping yourself accountable to saying, hey, I said I would do this. I have to do that. From an ego side of things, failing at business was probably one of the biggest ego hits. But what I realized going through all of that, it was just me that was looking at myself as a failure. I had a lot of people that reached out to me after I failed. I had a lot of individuals calling me and saying, look, you tried something that most people won't even try. And so how do you consider that a failure? So that has probably been like from the mental side of things is just, I had to get out of my own way. The world does not revolve around me, even though it feels like when I am failing, it's just in big, bright letters that everybody's seeing it. Everybody cares about it. And they're all looking at me like a failure and coming to realize like my failures have been an inspiration to some. And some people are like, hey, how's the business going? And I'm like, oh yeah, we shut that down over a year ago. And they're like, oh, okay. And then we just moved on. So trying to get out of your own way some of the times on the mental side is like, it's a failure. It's a blip in the bump in the road, a blip in the radar. Like it's time to move on, get up and move on because nobody else really cares. And I sometimes I can come across a little bit stark, but nobody is really paying attention to what you are doing that closely.
Yeah. It's kind of like when you're a kid and you have a pimple on your nose and it looks like everybody's looking at it like it's huge and, nobody's looking at you, nobody cares. And I love what you said, particularly because of what I said about how much I'm not a numbers guy. And I hope that anybody listening will replay like the last 2.5, 3 minutes of when you were talking, because when I went to work for my last boss before I opened up my own company, that was 24 years. I opened it up almost 22 years ago. So that was 24 years ago. He taught me the exact same thing that you said, the value of knowing your metrics. When one of the services I provide is called fractional or outsourced sales management. I measure everything. And I always say, I'm not a numbers guy. I'm a people guy, except knowing your numbers gives you great power. And I measure, how many calls did you make? How many times did you get through? How many voicemails did you leave? How many people returned? I mean, knowing what your numbers are, you also know whether you're improving or not. And if you can't measure it, then it's a waste. So I'm very big on that. I hope everybody listening will take that message because it's crucial. And the other thing is when you do know your numbers, you can achieve any goal. When you know your average dollar volume is per sale and your average sales cycle is and all that stuff, I can help you achieve any goal. If I'm just making up numbers now, but if you make 10 calls to close one deal and you want to close 2 deals, guess what? Make 20 calls.
That's simple math. That does not take an engineering degree.
No, and I always say sales isn't rocket science, and I usually add in, and I like saying that because my daughter is a rocket scientist, but you don't have to be as smart as my daughter. Now let's talk about the pickup project because I'm fascinated by that. What exactly is the pickup project, and what inspired you to launch that?
Yeah, so the pickup project really exists to help elevate human connection through competition. For me, growing up, anytime I was competing against somebody, whether it was my friends, whether it was opponents, like that's really a good way for me to connect. And even today, as a father, like when I'm playing against my boys, like that is like the roughhousing aspect. Like it's so much more about just the physical interaction. Like we're just bonding in that moment. And so about 3 years into my 10-year sales career, I quickly realized that my widget that I was selling was not necessarily unique. It wasn't like they could only buy that one thing from me. There were 3, 4, 5 other different same things that were legally required to accomplish the same goal. It just looked different. One was black, one was silver, one was tall, one was short type of scenario. It had to accomplish the same metrics that every project required. So from that perspective, it's just, what color do you desire? So I figured really quickly, I have to go and change who they think I am. They need to buy from me, not because of this widget. And so one of the things that I really just tried to do was understand, like, how can I create a unique experience for these individuals that allows me to get to outside of the business conversation and get to know them on a personal level. In the construction industry that I was in, like the typical thing was, let's go to a coffee shop and grab coffee. Let's go to a big ballroom. There's tons of people. And I am an engineer. I am an introvert. Like that's what we do. That is my biggest fear, is walking into a room without knowing a soul. And the other options are really expensive lunches or going out to happy hours. And in those moments, like I never knew if I was actually enabling somebody that maybe was struggling with alcohol. So I really wanted to find a way that was going to get us out on a court, is what it ended up being, but allowed us to get rid of this like business layer and honestly kind of help create a more healthy lifestyle for us. And so what started off as just 2 of us playing half court pickup basketball because I was just trying to find a way to get to know people, the conversation started changing really quickly from, hey, what job are you working on that I can potentially help you with, to like, hey, how was your son's swim meet last night? Like, did he crush it again, type of thing? And that's when I just started to realize, like, the power of this competition removes this opportunity to like put on a business face, and it allowed them just to kind of relax and not feel like somebody's going to be pitching to them or trying to sell them on something. And when I recognized those conversations were changing, I said, hey, we're going to open this up to anybody in construction and real estate. And we quickly filled 2 courts, and it allowed us to then have so much momentum that we ended up having different sponsorships to be able to provide different jerseys. So when you walked in, it felt like, hey, this isn't just a bunch of ragtag individuals. And it just continued to grow and grow. And, 8 years later is how long I've been doing this. We have on average about 60 people a week coming through our different locations right now. We're at 3 right now, with 2 more coming up here in the next couple of months, with the goal to get to 10 by the end of the year, with the core purpose of, we're here to get to know each other first. We just happen to play basketball.
And did I read that for the first, 3 or 5 years, that not only did you put it together and you were playing, but you were also washing everybody's jerseys?
Yeah, those first years were put a lot of loads in the laundry. And anybody that competes in sports, that those jerseys that you're hauling around are not, not smelling the best.
Not
tossing
roses.
it in with, I had to make sure we didn't toss it in with our own clothes because I didn't want my clothes smelling like that. But yeah, we get out there and we work hard. This morning we ran, I got about 4 miles of running in, and you're sweating pretty profusely. But yeah, it's a component where I want to provide that experience for somebody that walks in and they know that, hey, this isn't just kind of being put together. I'm going to feel welcomed and heard. I like to introduce myself as soon as I see somebody new coming in, just to kind of get rid of that awkward layer before they even get in there. But part of that is providing like some structure to it and some operations to it that makes them feel like, hey, all right, I know every time I show up, I'm going to have a good run. There's going to be enough people here. I'm going to be safe. I don't want to get hurt. And I'm going to meet some cool people along the way.
Which I love what you said about dropping the business persona. Just yesterday, I was coaching a guy, and I've had this experience time after time over the years of coaching salespeople, where let's say I'm coaching you, and we're sitting together in your office, and you're going to make some cold calls, and I'm just sitting there and listening, and I can't tell you how many times after a call I would turn to somebody like you and go, Mitch, who was that on the phone just now? And you go, Bob Jones. I'm like, no, I'm talking about you. Who was that? And you go, me. I'm like, no, that didn't sound like you, because you and I have been talking. You have some business voice that you put on. And just yesterday, I had that same experience with somebody. We were listening to a recorded call that you'd done. I said, who is that on the line? He goes, oh, that's prospect, blah, blah. I said, no, the other guy goes, that's me. I'm like, doesn't sound like you. You and I have talked a bunch of times. You're upbeat. You're happy. You're laughing all the time.
Yeah.
You sound very serious. His name is Yom Tov. He's an Orthodox Jewish salesperson. Great guy. Fantastic. I love this guy. I'm so excited to work with him. And he's barely got any experience, and he's going to be great. But
yeah,
people do business with people. And it sounds to me like in the pickup project, you're dropping the I do this and I do that, and how can I get your business? And it's like, how do we create connection? Because look, I've been in sales for 50 years, and I say this all the time. A lot has changed over the last 50 years, but one thing has not. In almost every case, people still do business with people that they both like and trust. And if they don't like and trust you, they will go out of their way to not do business with you unless you've got what they want and they can't get it anywhere else, which is certainly not true when you were selling your widgets. There's lots of other sales coaches and trainers out there.
Yeah.
So it's just now look, if you swear like a truck driver all the time and you're an idiot, don't be you, but be you, because people do business. It's that connection that makes people comfortable enough to trust you, to say, oh, you've got this that can fulfill my needs. I'm going to trust Mitch is going to take great care of me. When people engage me, I'm always amazingly honored, because they're saying, I trust you with my ability to earn more income, Jeff.
Yeah. I equate that to like the equity in the relationship, because not every single person that comes out there is interested in networking and making something happen or anything along those lines. But they probably know somebody. And what I've done, being allowed to pour into these relationships by providing this safe space, like, it allows me the opportunity to just like call somebody up and say, like, I need a favor now, whether that is for business or personal needs. It is something that continuously, like, when people walk away from the pickup project, they look at me after paying me to come and play, and they're like, dude, thank you so much for like putting this space on for us. Like, I love it. And it's continued to grow. And I get really cool messages from individuals that have gone on to other cities and are coming back and now wanting to start it in their location that they're in now. People going to different tailgates for Nebraska Husker games that met at the pickup project. Like, it goes so far beyond just the basketball side of things. I mean, we took a survey, and it was back in 2020, like, within the individuals that have played. So this does not include, hey, I know somebody that I need to introduce you to, but people that have actually played basketball together had done just over $1 million worth of business together. Now, there's a lot of construction and real estate people in there. So, I don't want to say like, hey, one of those projects probably was worth $250,000, but still, that is being conducted. They get to know each other first, and then the business kind of follows from that side. The other thing that came through that was the number one most unexpected thing that people said was genuine friendships, not business relationships, not opportunities. It was friendships. And I mean, as gratifying as that can be, like, that was the top of what the business was. One thing that's awesome, but the fact that I can provide a space, and other champions that we are now teaching this in other locations can provide a space where people can come into a brand new city, not know anybody, and walk away with like 4 really good friends. Like, that's pretty powerful.
It's constantly amazing to me. Actually not, but it's interesting how the shared love of something can lead to not just connection, but business. I happen to love the band Pink Floyd. And in fact, I was at a concert Wednesday night for one of my 2 favorite Pink Floyd tribute bands called Australian Pink Floyd. They're amazing. And I was wearing the t-shirt of my very favorite Pink Floyd tribute band. They're called Floyd Nation. Okay. And I'm at a concert with 1,800 other people. And at the intermission, a guy walks by me and does one of these, looks at my shirt. He goes, those guys are awesome. They are effing awesome. And the next thing you know, we're talking about this shared love of this band. And Pink Floyd. Gosh. I've actually gotten business because of my love of Pink Floyd. In fact, the guy who one of the founders of Floyd Nation, I can't resist telling this. So
let's hear it.
So I have, the Sales Pro Network, which we're broadcasting to right now, is a group on Facebook with about 1,700 salespeople. And I'm very big on, I talk about Pink Floyd on a regular basis. And one of the guys in there said, hey, I know you love Pink Floyd. I have a friend, or I work with somebody who's in this tribute band, Floyd Nation, and you should check them out. And in my mind, I'm thinking, oh yeah, somebody else's garage band, they're going to suck. And I'm going to have to go, oh yeah, terrific. Thanks for sharing that. Well, I look them up and they're incredible. I mean, they're just, I'm old enough that I actually saw Pink Floyd live way more than once. And these guys are about as close as you can come. Anyways, at one point he says to me, one of the guys from the band, one of the founders wants to talk to you about coaching. And I'm thinking, coaching? What? How am I going to coach a guy who plays in a band? What? I don't understand. Anyways, I get on the call. First of all, this guy looks like a rock star. He's about 6'6". He's bald, got a long hair, long beard like Gandalf. Really interesting look. And we're chatting, the first 10 minutes about, oh, I love Pink Floyd. I saw the video, your band, you're amazing. I can't wait to see it. Blah 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 blah. And then I finally said to him, why are we talking?
Why are we talking?
Exactly. I'm a sales coach. I mean, I don't know how to sell tickets for a show. He goes, oh, I forgot the other guy's name now. Didn't Steve tell you I own a financial services firm? And the next thing you know, I'm training his team. So you never know where that community, that shared love of something is going to turn into not just friendship. And this guy has become my friend. In fact, I consider him more of a friend than a client, but also business. Yes.
Oh my gosh. The book Giftology. Have you read that one by John Ruhlin, who recently passed away? I took that to heart to try to understand, like, how can I go, again, creating a different experience. I'm not just going to send you a koozie or a Yeti mug because you have plenty of those things. But what you just heard, or what you just said, was this individual saw that you liked Pink Floyd, and now they connected you with something else from Pink Floyd, like whether it's basketball, whether it's love for band, whatever it is. If you listen, what I've learned in that sales world was like trying to listen to the things that like were just like a little snippet of the conversation. It was just kind of a part of it. Like, oh yeah, we went to a Royals game, or we went to the Pink Floyd concert, and be like, okay, that person obviously has some sort of desire to be around Pink Floyd. Like, how sweet would it be if I just sent them a retro Pink Floyd concert t-shirt? And there was nothing more than just a genuine friendship to say, like, I knew you liked it. I wanted to send it to you. I saw this, like, this is yours, man. Like, enjoy it. Like, that was how we have been able to build like strong relationships. And even in basketball, like it's interesting, like when you're between those lines, you don't get to think about what you want to say next. It is all gut instinct, better for worse. Like it can go many different ways. Fortunately, we've developed a way to make sure it's maintained as a positive environment, but you learn things about individuals when you have that same common goal, like race, religion, skin color, height. It doesn't matter. When you're on the same team with the same goal, you just connect, and then that allows additional growth in those relationships. And then, and then it can, and maybe sometimes it doesn't lead to business, but is that the goal? Like when I meet somebody new, is it just to get business from them, or is it to truly make sure that they know that I see them, I care about them, I want to help them? And sometimes that's with my widget or service that I provide, and sometimes it's based on another connection that I have that I can send their way.
Yeah. Why basketball? What is it about basketball in particular that you love so much?
That is the common misconception about the Pickup Project. People think that I just have an absolute love for basketball. I was 5 foot tall and 100 pounds soaking wet my freshman year in high school. I belonged nowhere on a basketball court at that point in my life. I do, however, really, really enjoy sports. So the reason that basketball was that thing was, like, honestly, like the bare minimum was like, we really only needed 4 people to play. If I tried to get baseball together or something like other team sports, like that's a lot of people to try to even get anything going. So basketball was honestly the easiest choice. I knew a court and it was cheap. Now I enjoy playing basketball, and I've loved it more as I've continued to play, but I don't follow the NBA. I might watch a finals game here or there. It truly was just one of those moments where a couple of us said, yeah, I'd go play pickup ball. And I thought it was an opportunity to get to know these individuals on a different level. And I just kind of led the group, and it was just around basketball. So people think that I love and just like go crazy about basketball, and I can dunk and I can do all these things because I'm now 6'2". I can't touch the rim. I miss layups. I shoot my left-handed layup with my right hand. Like, I just don't have any formal training, but the idea behind the pickup project has, you could strip basketball away from it and insert any other sport if you wanted to, or any other activity. It's truly about what we create to make sure that people have the opportunity to meet others while not having to talk business the whole time.
Yeah, it's that shared experience.
Yes. Yeah.
2 weeks ago, I went out with a bunch of people. We went skeet shooting. I mean, anything, but because,
Yep.
you're spending time together. We're walking from station to station. You're talking to each other. We're watching each other shoot and, encouraging each other. It's that shared experience that creates relationship. And all the people that came with me that day were from the same networking group that I belong to. We already knew each other, but it's
Sure.
not about going to the meeting every 2 weeks. It's about things like that really cause the connection.
Yes. Yeah. The shared experience is such a good, that's exactly it.
I read that just yesterday, you played 4 games of ball as a non-sports guy who never liked sports and who grew up with a bunch of friends who loved basketball. So I would always go play with them. I was always the worst, got picked last. It was not fun to have me on the team. And after like 10 minutes, I'm like, I've had it, guys. I'm sweating. I suck at this. Goodbye. But you played 4 games of ball yesterday. Talk about the progression of how you felt from the first game to the last game. And what does that really teach us about life and business?
Oh my gosh. This is actually, like, I just talked with a buddy this morning when we were playing basketball. The first game is, you're like the Tin Man that needs the oil on the knees. Like, that first game is just like, hey, like, we got to get the juices flowing. When we play at 6:30 a.m., you've got an early wake up time to get to the gym. You got to warm up a little bit. I always tell people, hey, in the most loving way, you're not going to fix your shot this morning. Let's work on stretching the legs and hamstrings, because that's where most of those injuries tend to happen, is from wanting to push ourselves from that. And so that first game is just kind of warming up. The second game, I feel like I'm kind of finally in that flow of like, all right, I can feel it. I can move a little bit more. I'm going to get some better shots. Third game, I'm really feeling it. Like, I'm pushing myself hard. I might try to do something I've never done before. I might take a couple extra threes. And then by the time that fourth game runs around, that's when everything just starts to like fall off. We've been running really hard for at least 45 minutes at that point. And, basketball is not just a like run straight. It is a constant back and forth, here and there, cutting, moving, picking. Like, it's very physical from that side of things. And so I get anywhere from 4 to 5 miles in a morning just playing 1 hour of basketball. That said, that fourth game, we always kind of have a motto where it's, hey, it's not about how you started, it's about how you finish. And we really try to push each other and lift each other up through that, because, we've got some individuals that are in their mid to late 40s. We also have individuals that are in their, mid 20s coming out and playing and just kind of getting their career started. Obviously, those younger individuals have a lot more energy, but for us in our mid, late 30s and into the 40s, like, our knees are giving out. We can't breathe anymore. Sometimes a back or a previous injury is really starting to flare up. And we just really encourage each other to say, like, it's not about how you started, it's about how you finish. So if you can just push one more, if you can get that one more pick or one more rebound, like, just do one more thing to get through to the end. And, I think that's, for my journey in life of 37 years so far, I think that really does apply to a lot of things in life. From a failed business, like, it was all great, but, what are you going to do when you get punched and you're down and out? Are you going to sit there and feel your sorrows for an extended period of time and say, poor me? Or are you going to say, it's not about how I started, it's about how I finish? And sometimes that means getting back up when, it doesn't feel good to get back up. It doesn't look good to get back up, but you just got to keep going. And, from the sales journey and what you've kind of mentioned too, like, if you just do the one thing, then one next thing, and you can accomplish that and you measure it, you're going to be surprised at how quickly you can pull yourself out. And I would also just say, like, from the community that I have had around me because of the basketball group, like, I wasn't the only one trying to step my foot forward. I had a lot of people pushing me forward too. And so that just really felt good to have community around me to encourage me to say, like, no, dude, you got this. Like, what's next type of thing.
Yeah, and I'm glad to see that my friend Peter Ekstrom is watching today, joining us. He's a an incredible cold calling coach and an expert. The same thing applies. It's make that one more call, send that one more email, even when you don't feel like it, because you never know when that one more is going to be the one that somebody actually responds to, opens up a door to a sale. I love that. Now, you've created a model that blends competition, community, and leadership. What have you learned about building culture that actually sticks?
Yeah, the one thing that I have recognized over these years of trying to do this is the culture starts at the very beginning before the ball is even bounced. Every single Friday morning when we go out there and play, the first thing we do before we start playing is we gather everybody up, and I make sure to set the tone. This is what this space looks like. This is a space where we have braces on our knees and ankles. This is a space where some of us are aging and some of us are young. Some of us have very good skill level and some of us don't have skill level. But the first thing that we're here to do is to genuinely meet new people, be respectful and kind, build people up, not tear people down. And I think that really relates to any culture that's out there. Is like, it has to start from the top. It has to start at the beginning to set the tone so that anybody else that comes in new, maybe they're not aware of what the culture or tone is. So you get to educate them on that. But now you have that foundation with those individuals that have been there over and over and over again, where it's just like the next person that comes in line can just see like, okay, wow, this is different. Like there's no chirping. All right. We're not going to talk down on anybody. We're not going to be physically trying to push people to the ground. Like in a way, and I don't know if it sounds good or bad, but like they've just fallen in line with what the culture is versus trying to come in and disrupt. Now, sure, we have some disruptions every once in a while, and those have to be conversations, hard conversations that I have to have with individuals. But it's just a repeat of this is what we talked about at the beginning, and this is what it is. And if this isn't for you because you want this or you want that, then this just isn't the space for you. And we kindly move on from that. But in the 8 years that I've done this, we've had 0 physical altercations. And we've only had one individual that I just had to ask to not come back based on using words that were inappropriate and tearing people down.
So it sounds, I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, oh my God, you've created a safe space.
Yes.
And the reason I say that is because for the last 20 plus years, I've been working with professional salespeople and professional sales organizations. And I'm not even sure if I don't think I've talked about this yet on this podcast, but a while back, it came to me that there's a large percentage of people out there that I can serve that I'm not serving now. And that it may be my entire future to serve them. So what I'm talking about is I've worked with companies that you're familiar with. I've trained people at Cisco Systems and Citibank and Siemens and Aramark. And I've done this. I've flown all over the world training sales teams at major corporations as well as tiny companies that nobody ever heard of. But I realized a short time ago that there are people who have to sell that don't want to sell. I'm a professional salesperson. I love selling. I enjoy relationships and blah, blah, blah. But yeah. Coaches, consultants, solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, small business owners, they didn't go into business to be salespeople. For 50 years, that's all I've been doing is selling and managing salespeople. But a coach just wants to serve. A diet coach just wants to help people be more healthy and look better. A relationship coach wants to have people be more fulfilled. But they often don't like selling. They don't think highly of salespeople. They think it's sleazy. They don't want to be seen as pushy, and they're asking for money. Yeah. So what I did, I created something that I called the Sales Confidence Lab, and it's specifically designed for those people, what I call the accidental salesperson. And it's a 12-week program. And what I did, I created a safe space for those people to come in and not have to deal with somebody like me who'd be in the class going, I know all this stuff. And, you listen to me. And we've got 17 people in the class. It's absolutely astounding, but that safe space that you've created for people to come. And I like what, wearing knee braces and all that stuff. It's like, it gives people permission to be, oh, it's okay that I don't know this and I don't have to be pushy and sleazy. I just love hearing you say that.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I appreciate that, and yeah, it has been it's been the core value of everything moving forward. And it's my biggest fear as we expand to more cities is making sure that culture does not diminish. And so, as I'm reaching out for new champions in new cities, I don't have a specific city that we want to grow to. I want to find the right person that understands this culture and understands that it's more than just basketball. And when I find that right individual, then that's the city we're going to expand to.
So what is being part of a consistent community like this done for your health, your business, and your relationships?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned earlier, like the relationship equity. There's been a lot of individuals that I've been able to lean on and ask for favors. I kind of jokingly tell a lot of people I can tell, and I think it was Barack Obama that mentioned this at one point. Was I can tell more about a person in 1 hour of basketball than a year's worth of coffees when they're between those lines. Like, and it's true. I can tell, and I don't want to judge anybody by any means without knowing who they are as an individual. But when they step in those lines, I could very quickly tell who's somebody that I would let them be introduced to my children and somebody that would never be allowed to see my children. And that's just kind of the way that it is sometimes, is that you learn those individuals very, very quickly. And so the relationship equity has been huge for me as I've continued to grow in my entrepreneurial journey, to just be able to reach out and get feedback from individuals. I mean, we have CEOs of multi-million-dollar businesses. We have individuals that are going to go change out a coil on a rooftop unit on a building afterwards. But when they're in that same room together on the same team with the same jersey with a common goal, like, it allows relationships to get rid of like the socioeconomic side of things, where these two individuals, like on paper, would never come across each other. But now they find out that, hey, we both have a love for Pink Floyd. And all of a sudden that relationship is bonded. And, in a selfish way, like, I was the individual that brought those two together. And those individuals come to me sometimes like, dude, just let me know how I can help, whatever that looks like. So I would say like the relationship equity has just been a huge component of that. As far as, I think you'd kind of mentioned like the leadership side of things, I was a lone wolf in my sales career for 10 years. Like, I had support and everything along those lines, but it never felt like an extremely collaborative approach. You go out and you hunt and you gather and you kill and you do everything. In this scenario, it's kind of allowed me to try to step back and empower other individuals that I see what is the potential of them, but maybe they don't see that yet. And so empowering them to help lead different organizations, or even individuals to step in when I can't be there, to give them the resources and tools and the know-how to go about doing that. And so for me, like, it's really sharpened that leadership tool to step away, because I was just so ingrained on like, I control everything, to take the step back and say, hey, there are multiple different ways to accomplish the exact same goal. I have ideas that are probably best for me. They're maybe not going to be the best for that individual, but at the same time, hey, here's some guardrails that you need to stay in between and allow them to go there and quite honestly, trip, fall, fail, hit their head, and learn the next time on, whoop, I'm not going to do that again. I've got a really good example of our champion that leads one of our locations that's within driving distance of our main location. I give them the playbook, like, quite literally, we call it the playbook. And here's the words that you need to speak in the circle up moment. He's been playing with us for 5 years. He has heard me say this every Friday for 5 years. And he gets in the circle and he doesn't have it. And all right, man, you're up. And he goes, I have no idea what I'm supposed to say, because he freaked out in the moment and it was all on him. And that was one of those moments where I was saying, like, I know that you can hear these things over and over again, but you have to run through that. You have to read through it. And in that moment, it was like a learning moment for him to say, like, hey, like, you're good. Nobody's going to care about it, but let's be better next time, so that when I'm not here, you have the know-how to say what you need to say, when you need to say it, so that we can keep this culture strong. And so it's one of those scenarios where, like, hey, here's the guidelines, stay in between those, but read the script first a couple different times, because when you're on the spotlight, sometimes your brain goes in weird spots and you just forget what you're actually trying to accomplish.
Yeah. I love what you said about, you've got CEOs, you've got, AC, air conditioning mechanics in there. And, when everybody changes into their basketball gear, you're all the same. And that's something I try to impart to salespeople all the time. My experience, especially with younger people,
yes.
They often give the utmost respect just to somebody who's older or has a better title. And I'm not saying you shouldn't respect people, but when you're trying to do business with people, you don't want them to be looking down on you. And if you're looking to up at them, oh, you're a CEO. Look, I will often exaggerate a story to make a point, but this is no exaggeration. Look, I've sold presidents, CEOs, VPs, SVPs, EVPs of sales. These are usually high-powered people, but 50% of the time I walk out of people's offices and go, how did they get their job and how do they keep it? I don't understand. How do they not know the most basic stuff that they're talking to me about? It's amazing. But my point is, when I'm talking to salespeople, it's like, forget about their title. I don't care that they make more money than you, have a better title, maybe have a nicer car or a bigger house. They're just people. They have wives and husbands and kids and dogs and troubles and bills and all that stuff, just like you do. Deal with people like people, not necessarily a title, because people are people. And that's why I'm not concerned, at least not for now, about AI taking over sales. People still do business with people, and robots, and maybe it will someday. We're not there yet, but I think it's a great tool to use for salespeople, but it's not going to replace us because people still usually need to talk to a human being. There's something else you mentioned on LinkedIn recently that I can't resist talking about because I say this all the time. Talk a little bit about multitasking and building rhythm, because we have the same opinion on multitasking.
That I'm terrible at it.
No, there's more.
Multitasking. So, one of the things that let me repeat that question real quick, if you don't mind.
Well, my point is that multitasking is a myth. Whenever I'm standing in front of an audience of salespeople, I'll always say, who's a great multitasker? And almost every hand goes up, except you're not. You think you're a great multitasker, but it's been proven scientifically, your brain can only focus on one thing at any given nanosecond. When you try to do two or more things at once, your brain gets exhausted because it's switching back. I'm driving, I'm talking on the phone, I'm reading a text, whatever it is, it's exhausting. And my experience is, and my coaching is, focus on one thing. You can't play basketball and be looking at the stock market. It's one or the other. So, and when you try to do more than one thing, both things suffer. Yes?
1000%. I mean, even this morning, I had to drop off some equipment at one of our locations, and I was worried about the conversation I was having on the phone, and I forgot to make my turn. Like, those are the real world scenarios that cause you to be extremely distracted from what you're trying to accomplish. Tim Ferriss, he had mentioned a while ago that like being busy is a form of laziness. That really resonated with me. And I think that was one of those things where I just got caught up with like, I've got so many things on my plate today. Like I am just busy as can be. And they're layered after layered and trying to do multiple things at the same time. And all of a sudden you turn around and you're like, why am I still working on these two things after 3 hours when it should have taken me 30 minutes? My wife tends to remind me that I'm not the best multitasker, and she does it in a very loving way, but I can be very distracted. And that allows for a lot of missed opportunities, both personally and professionally. Like if I'm sitting staring at my phone and somebody's telling me something, you're telling me that you love Pink Floyd and you're a good client of mine, and I'm listening or looking at the stock market or other distractions, I just missed an opportunity to further that relationship, to create more business, to help you out, to really make a personal connection that can really make a really good bond. And because you chose to be distracted, not multitask, be distracted, you missed that opportunity. And that's a silly example of that, but in a very real sense, like there's missed opportunity from multitasking. You're not as efficient with your time as you multitask. I mean, there's several studies on the inefficiencies that come with multitasking versus just putting your head down, getting the work done, moving on to the next task.
Yeah. And when I saw the quote that you put up by Tim Ferriss, about being busy is a form of laziness. I don't know that I agree with that completely, but I don't think that's exactly the way I took it. He talks about the difference between being busy and being productive.
Yes,
and I talk about that all the time too. You could be busy all day long and not get anything done. It's very difficult to be productive without being busy, but it's very easy to be busy without being productive. Yes.
Yes.
Please talk about building rhythms.
Yeah, I mean, from my engineering background, like systems and operations are my jam. So getting into different rhythms as I'm trying to accomplish different things, making sure that I have my guarded, like my time. And this is like from Enneagram tests and every other test, like I am very guarded with my time. I don't like flexibility to come into that day or that time. And so what I've really tried to do is at the beginning or at the end of every evening, I know exactly what my goals are, the top 3 most important things for me to accomplish the next day.
Of course.
I recently made that transition a couple of years ago based on, I would get up and I would get my list of things I wanted to get done for the day. And then you get through that and it just never felt like I accomplished what I wanted to get done. And I've had very serious conversations with my wife when she was just like, you have to find a way to be satisfied with the work that you put in today, because it's unrealistic for you to just keep grinding and grinding and grinding and never being enough. You're never going to find joy in the wins that you have and stop to celebrate those. And so that new rhythm of understanding what I need to accomplish, I've got a list of what I need to get done for the week, my top 3 priorities for the week. And then you make that down into like a more granular level of what are my top 3 things I need to get done today. And so I've been in that rhythm now, being able to make sure if I can accomplish those 3 things, and as silly as it seems, it's like these 3 things, if I can get those done, I can walk away from the day and feel accomplished in what I had done, because that feeling of just never enough, it has 2 impacts on you. One, you work yourself to death, and it takes the fun out of anything that is around you, including your spouse and your children. And 2, you just like mentally, you just feel like you're not enough. The self-doubt creeps in, I'm the CEO and, oh man, I shouldn't be here. Like, what am I doing here? I can't even do this. So those are the 2 things that have really creeped in on those moments. But yeah, the rhythm of just like planning your day and knowing what you need to accomplish. I've read a bunch of different other things, and I know that 80% of my day has to be marketing, outreach, and sales. Like, I have to block my time, number of hours that I get that day. If it's not 80% of that is towards those moments, then I don't feel like I've accomplished what I wanted to do. So again, knowing your metrics, knowing your percentages, knowing what you're going to accomplish can lead to really, really powerful results. And I would tell you, in the last couple of years, by implementing that, I have moved the businesses that I'm involved in so much further than I would have ever expected. And honestly, I do that with my personal health too. Like, that is a huge component of, being good for the business side of things. If you're not good, business isn't going to be good. And so there's so many different layers that you can kind of pour into that, but building that habit and that rhythm of, this is what I know I need to accomplish today, and this is what I'm going to do from an hourly side of things, makes you productive, not just busy.
Yeah. I don't even make lists anymore. I used to be a huge list maker. I didn't like making lists, but I love crossing things off. But
yeah.
I teach salespeople something called calendarization. I don't even make lists. Everything goes on my calendar. And I always teach salespeople, the very last thing on your calendar every single day, and I love when I heard you say it, is plan tomorrow. You should never, ever sit down at your desk or wherever you work first thing in the morning and go, okay, what should I do now? Because you're going to waste 5 to 15 minutes just figuring out what to do. And it's probably not going to be the thing that's going to make you most productive, because we tend to want to do the things that are easiest or the most fun. And that's not necessarily what's going to put the most money in your pocket. And I'm a visual learner, so I create signs for myself. And one of the signs that hangs kind of right behind this camera, so I can see it all the time, says, am I doing the thing at this moment that's most likely to result in income? And because I can see it constantly, I'm constantly asking myself that question. And if the answer is no, I know I need to be doing something else. But when you end your day by planning tomorrow, you walk in, you're immediately productive. You're getting stuff done. And my advice is always do the toughest stuff that you don't really want to do first thing in the morning, so that you don't have to get to the end of the day and go, oh, I meant to do that, but fill in the blank.
Your brain power is gone at that point. I think that's isn't that the book, like Eat the Frog or something like that?
Yeah, exactly. But when I love teaching people to cold call. I don't do it myself anymore, except once a month, to make sure that what I'm teaching is still
got it. Yeah.
Well, I'd rather live in my car. I built my business from cold calling, but I'd rather live in my car than ever have to do it again. But when I used to cold call every day, it was the very first thing I did every single day, so that I didn't get to the end of the day and go, oh, I meant to call some prospects today. I'll do more tomorrow, because you never do more tomorrow. It's got to be consistent. Talk about either being or not being a morning person.
Oh, my take on the morning person or not being the morning person is maybe, I don't know if that's unique or whatnot, but for me, my perspective of that is, if you're not a morning person, you're not knowing why you're waking up. Like, it's a scenario where if you know what you want to do, like when you're going on vacation and you've got a 5 a.m. airplane to catch, like, why is it weirdly easy to wake up at 3 a.m.? Because you know you're getting to go on vacation. You have a reason why you want to wake up early.
We're going to Disney World.
Yeah, one of those, the surprise to Disney World. But that's kind of my take on it is, people can be morning people or not morning people. It is what it is. And I know several entrepreneurs that just aren't morning people, and they'll stay up way into the night and wake up later in the morning, and more power to them. But I think when it comes to like the ability to wake up and feel good and excited, is that there is a clear definition of why you're waking up and what you want to do, whether that is personal health, whether that's business, whether that's XYZ. Like if you know why you want to get up at 5 a.m., you're going to get up. Like it's just, for me, my perspective, you're going to get up.
Yep.
But so many people in this world, and I raised my hand with this too, is like, sometimes we just don't know what or why we want to wake up. Like, why, what do I want to do? Who am I? What is the long term? Like, that's such a very hard question to answer for a lot of us. And like, guilty is charged as well. But in those moments where with the pickup project, I've got a 5 a.m. wake up call to get there and get everything set up, is because I am genuinely excited to go and hang out with my buddies, play some basketball, and get the day started. You know why you're waking up. It's a lot easier to be a morning person, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think there's two things to consider. One is that we all do have a different rhythm. And some people really are better in the morning than the afternoon, or vice versa. Like, I am a morning person. I'm up very early, sometimes 3:34. I try to sleep till 5. You never know, but I'm wide awake. I don't drink coffee. I don't do caffeine. I'm just naturally morning. But about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I fade badly because I've been up since 3 or 4 a.m.
Sure.
I know how to plan my day around that. So one thing is to take into, I mean, it's not necessarily good or bad to be morning or afternoon, but the other thing I think that's important is, what do you say to yourself when you wake up? And I believe that most people wake up and it's like, oh shit, another day that I have to go to work and I hate my life and I hate my job and I hate this. My first conscious thought, and this is a purposeful thing every morning, is today's going to be a great day. I actually put a physical smile on my face because that releases, the good chemicals in your brain. And I say, today's going to be a great day. And I actually have a 10-minute litany of things I say to myself after I get out of bed. And
yeah,
he's laying behind me, so I can't say it, but I WALK the DOG if I
I've got my affirmations to go through in the morning to feel good about.
10 minutes for my walk, I'm saying these things and I'm saying them out loud with a smile on my face. I'm convinced most of my neighbors probably think I'm crazy because I'm walking through the neighborhood. Today's going to be a great day. I'm going to help lots of people today. And there's a whole thing. But if you wake up and it's like, oh shit, you're going to have a different day, then today's going to be a great day.
Yeah. There, one of the individuals that comes and play with us is like a neuroscience guru individual, and there was two things that had a huge impact on me. Where he says, motivation isn't something that comes to you; it's something that is accomplished through action. So you have to take action to be motivated. You get that first thing done, it motivates you to do the next one. The other thing he said is, our brains, as soon as 2 feet are on the ground, is an idea that it's time to start. And so what goes through my mind when I first wake up is, I know, like, it's not like I pop out of bed and I'm wide-eyed and ready to like, let's go. But I get up early because I know what I want to accomplish. But the first things I tell myself is, all right, we're up. Maybe I'm a little groggy and tired, but I got to get my 2 feet on the ground. Like, just get them out of the bed and on the ground. Maybe the ground's a little cold that morning and it jolts you awake. But yeah, that's that idea where he's like, get 2 feet on the ground and you can start your day.
Yeah, I can't do that until my dog decides to, because he's laying right next to me.
Yeah, I used to have a big old 80-pound chuckle
hurt himself. By the way, if that neuroscientist is interesting, I'd love to talk to him because I love interviewing those guys for this podcast.
Oh, I got you, Cody Isabel. I'll get an introduction for you.
Thank you so much. That'd be great. Hey, you recently decided to start practicing jujitsu. Why did you start that, and what have you learned from it?
I started that because my kids were into martial arts, and the master over there, he might have done one of the best sales moves I've ever seen. Was he pointed to like 5 of us in the class where we were with our kids, and he said, I need to talk to you guys afterwards. And he goes, I need more people in my adult class for jujitsu. I want to give you guys 2 free months. Will you do that with me? Let me earn your business. And I just like looking around, I'm like, I can't say no to that. Like, and he also goes in with like, your kids are getting better. They're getting stronger. They're going to be able to kick. You're going to need to know some things. But the environment that individual, the master of the POW is the organization, he has such a unique way to make you feel powerful, even though maybe you doubt that yourself. And I see that in my children. I mean, all three now. My daughter just started, and she's 3 years old, just started on Tuesday this week. My oldest, I have seen his confidence grow beyond belief.
Yeah.
His ability to speak up for himself. The core thing that I have found in both the martial arts side and the jiu-jitsu side was that your voice is your most powerful weapon. And I think that is really, really encouraging in today's age, when we feel like we got to fight first than just like have a conversation. So he really, really harps on that. And for jiu-jitsu, when I started getting into it, like, I mean, I'm walking through that door and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I have avoided confrontation for 37 years of my life. Why am I going to go into confrontation and choose to be put into a headlock? The one thing that I have really been absolutely blown away, like, I knew the physical side was going to be there, but with jiu-jitsu specifically, and Gracie jiu-jitsu specifically, is about leverage. It's about being a 170-pound person that is unfortunately in a situation where there's a 250-pound person that is coming at you, and being able to utilize positions and leverage to get yourself in a safe spot so that you can either, one, get away, which is number one. Like, I'm 37 years old. I have nothing to prove. If there is a fight, my first move is going to be to get out of that. But if I cannot get out of that, the idea that I can bring this person's will by what we call like a safe place to hold can bring them down. And, in certain situations, if you need to do more, you can. The thing that I've learned the most on the jiu-jitsu side was just like the mental aspect. Like, it is a game of chess versus any sort of like physical fight. And that was, when I look at martial arts and karate and jiu-jitsu, like, all I see, and like MMA and boxing, all you see is chokeholds and punches. And you're like, these guys are crazy. And this specific scenario, it's all about, how can I safely control the situation to have two options: protect myself or run. And that has been really, really empowering for me to, I'm still really good at avoiding fights, and I plan to continue that. But there is like a weird sense of comfort and safety, knowing like, hey, if the worst of the worst and my kid's in trouble and I need to step in, like, I have some tools that I can use now to protect ourselves or get ourselves to a safe spot. But at the same time, like, it keeps you so sharp because you're moving really fast, trying to do different maneuvers, listen to what the other person is doing, or seeing what the other person is doing and having a response to what that is, that's going to best position you. And like, as I'm talking through, I'm sitting there thinking about sales. Like, every single conversation, and even in business, every single conversation is, what is this person giving me that I can use in a way that can best help and serve that individual, or position myself in this different way. And so it's I guess now that I'm saying this out loud, jiu-jitsu is a very, very good sales training.
Very good. And I love what the sensei did to you. There's actually a name for that. It's called the puppy dog close. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
The puppy dog close. No.
The puppy dog close. Yeah. So you go to a pet store and you say, I don't know if I want a puppy or not. And they say, you know what, take the puppy home for the weekend. If you don't want it, bring it back. You're going to fall in love. It's called the puppy dog close. Give somebody something that they can try it out. They typically not going to want to give it back. So he actually was selling you.
Kudos. Way to go, Master Coleman.
We're actually out of time, but before we go, I'm going to share my screen. And would you please let people know how they can reach you if they're interested in talking about the pickup project or anything else that you do?
Yeah, I'm very active on LinkedIn, so that's probably the best way to quickly get a hold of me. But one thing we didn't talk about is I am in commercial real estate, both on the buy, sell, and leasing side. So that's the email there, mitch@mwcradvisors.com. But feel free to just come by my LinkedIn. I respond to that. It is me, and I do the best that I can, even though sometimes it can be delayed a week or so. But yeah, that's the best way to go ahead and get a hold of me.
Okay, and for those who are going to be listening to this as a podcast and can't see my screen, his name is Mitch, Mitch Case, Case, and you can find him on LinkedIn. And his email was Mitch@mwcradvisors.com. Well, Mitch, this has been fantastic. Thank you for sharing your brilliance with us so generously. And I will end as I always do. And that is, gang, please remember that sales is a game of making things happen. Get out there and make sales happen. And remember, the end of the year is coming. Thanks, Mitch. Thanks, everybody. Have a great
Thank
week.
you, Jeff. Take care.